Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back, everybody. Going to talk about something a little different than our normal conversations with her. Now, she's an amazing psychologist. We've talked about a lot over many weeks in terms of therapy and things like anxiety, depression, and all of that. Today, we're going to change it up a little bit, and we are going to talk about energy, what it is, how it supports us, how we can harness the power of energy to move our lives forward, and more. Interesting talk today. And this actually comes in the last chapter of her book, Love Yourself, Love Your Life. And the chapter is called Shine the Light. And I'm intrigued to see what's on her mind when it comes to energy. Dr. Ann Creekmore is back with us. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
Really well. Really well. You have great energy. I just want to start by saying that you really do.
Well, so do you. Thank you.
Thanks. And so people are aware of what we're talking about. Metaphysically, everything is energy. Everything we do. And I'm not just talking about your cell phone, your devices, things like that, your TV. Everything. We are energy. This pen is energy. The chair you're sitting on is energy, meaning it vibrates at a certain frequency, all different frequencies. Two humans will never vibrate at the exact same frequency. And that's kind of where it starts. And Mr. Einstein, the scientist back in the day, started talking about this, and a lot of us really didn't listen to it. Now more and more people are seeing it. There's scientific evidence on and on and on about this thing called energy. What would you say about energy? What would you want people to know about it?
Well, I think what you were saying, everything is energy. And energy cannot be, created or destroyed. It is there. And it's a field, or if you will, they sometimes call it the 0 point field, where, you can create from that level. That when you connect to energy, you create. That can be related to positive thinking, cognitive behavioral therapy, that they find that in quantum physics that, your thoughts create. And I describe it in a, kind of a scientific way, that the thoughts are creating your feelings create your behaviors create your outcomes, right? But it's actually like there's energy there, and there's a lot of science around that as well. That there's a book by Lynn McTaggart called The Field, which she's a journalist that did, and it's a really good book, easy to read, about different studies that showed the impact of our energy on various dimensions, if you will. In the sense of, for example, I'll just give one little one that a lot of people like, and we might have already discussed this, you can stop me, but just they did a study of, how little baby animals will imprint on the first object they see the mother. And so they did a study where they took little robot machines, and they measured they turned them on, let them be in a room, and they measured their path. And then they compared it, that was the control group. And then they did the same thing, but put a bunch of little baby chicks in the corner of the room. And then they turned on the machines and the little robots. And then they just measured their paths. And they found them to be walking towards those little chicks that are sending out this emotional need for mommy, or imprinting on the first object, which in this case was little machines, and that passion or that energy, in a sense, that they theorized was impacting on these little machines, because they were moving towards the baby chicks at a statistically significant different rate compared to the control group that was more of a random one. So that's just one study that they had. And I can give you another study if you're interested, or you want to ask some questions about it too. I've just it's a book on it.
You said something that I've never heard before, that energy can't be destroyed. And now that I think about it, it does make sense, because how would you destroy energy? And if you could or try to, it would just take another form and shape.
Exactly.
And for those who, hear this whole thing about energy and they're like, I don't know about that. We do it all the time. When you say to somebody, hey, I'm sending prayers for your surgery, or positive vibes, for that test you got coming up. People have been doing that forever. You are sending positive energy. And when we say, positive vibes, that's what you're saying is positive vibration.
Exactly.
And all energy vibrates at a certain frequency.
Right.
So we've been doing this. Bob Marley made songs in the early 70s, mid 70s. One song is called Positive Vibration. They already started harnessing the power of this and trying to tell people about it in song many, many years ago. We really didn't pick up on it, but that's what's going on here. And energy, these vibrations know no time and space also. So you could say, pray for somebody in their surgery 5 states away, and it can make an impact. Many times people say, everything turned out great.
Yeah, it's kind of like the underlying spiritual law of the energy, underlying prayer, if you will, or underlying cognitive behavioral therapy. But they find that it does, and now the nurses, they do healing touch therapy, which is not touching the patient, but doing hands-on kind of more Reiki kinds of, it's not Reiki, but it's healing touch, it's called, and they teach it. And that energy is transmitted as soothing or healing to patients without touching them. So there's lots of things. There was a study in this field, the book, The Field, where people were behind a the three-way mirror where you can't see, you can see into them, but they can't see out. And they were hooked up so they could be measured for their anxiety levels and so on, to the different machines measuring their galvanic skin responses and other measures, their heart rate, respiration, so on. And then they had people outside, kind of like that idea of prayer or cognitive behavioral therapy, your thoughts creating the law of attraction. That they were sitting out there, and so they asked the people to the Confederates to go in and just tell them that they had to wait a moment, and then they'll get to the study. But the actual study was going on, and then the experimenter would be outside sending either love, and positive to them, or sending negative energy, negative thoughts to them. And statistically significantly, their measures fit with what was being sent. Yep. I mean, they got anxious. Everything went up when they were having some negative thoughts sent, upset that vibe of them. And when they were having the positive and love and peace sent to them, their anxiety levels, all the indices of their anxiety levels went down, and they were at a much calmer state. So, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you use energy all the time and don't even know it in terms of creating your future. And it's been said by many that the energy flows where the attention goes. So that's kind of just what you said there in terms of negative thoughts, negative vibrations. The highest possible vibration in energy is love. That's the highest one. Exactly. And it can just, even through a window where they're just sitting around waiting, they're impacted by that, sending that vibe of love to them. And it calms them. And that's so important to think about our relationships when we walk into a room. What kind of vibe are we in, and what kind of vibes are we sending? And how does that affect our relationships and situations? So there's a field, in psychology called transpersonal psychology. And I think that's an outgrowth of Carl Jung. The great psychologist Carl Jung was very much a transpersonal psychologist that would include energy, not just totally material determinism, supposedly like Freud was more just behavioral, but more of including this idea of energy. And so psychologists are very Jungian, will use those kinds of ideas. And in transpersonal psychology is a whole separate kind of from regular psychology, but just kind of an outgrowth and that focuses on that as well.
So I want to share this because I've tested it. I like to test things.
Cool.
Can be skeptical. So let's see how this whole energy thing works. I have walked into a place, go to the gym, and I will, prior to walking in, think in my mind, be positive, raise your vibration, just positivity, love, positive vibration. I'm intentionally thinking it. I walk through the door. I see the same people. I don't even know who they are. Yeah, it's the same people working out because we all go to the ring around the same time. And normally there's no eye contact or anything, and that's all good. People are doing their thing. And there's it's a pretty big gym. So this is the one area where you walk to go where you want to get. And when I do that, raise the vibration up, intentional, I'm thinking about it. I'm not doing anything different except thinking that.
Exactly.
People passing me will smile and say hello. My facial expression has not changed. The day to day, it's not like I'm walking in there with a cheesy grin like, hey, no, I'm not doing anything different, but people respond differently. And I'm convinced that they're picking up on the energy that I'm putting out there.
Right. Well, we all know that we pick up on the vibes, right? And it's going to affect us. You walk into a situation, it's kind of this dark vibe. It affects you, positive. We know that. We pick that up. So, yes, but the point is you can use that. You can be proactive and get yourself, into a place of gratitude and love and inner peace with your breath work and your positive thoughts. And then you are creating a better environment, better response to yourself wherever you go. You can choose to do that.
So I'm going to give you another example of energy in action. And this is with inanimate objects. So I have an old Jeep. It's like 25 years old. It's just, it's junky. And I love it because I use it to just transport my kayaks. It's and that's my Zen thing when the weather is warmer.
Yeah.
I even joke around and say that, the Jeep is in hospice because it's always on its last, it's rusting away and everything. So I would have some issues with it, be driving, belt would go or something else. And I would get angry. I'm like, you piece of junk. Really? Come on, another and I would just be negative. And then it would break down again. So last year I fixed it, got it to the point where it's running okay, getting the job done. And then I would say, I appreciate you. We'd go out kayaking and I'd come back and I would thank my Jeep. I was like, thank you. We had a great day together. I'm grateful that I have you, and I don't have to worry about locking it. And it's just, then I feel like a kid driving it. It's just, it has not broken down since.
Absolutely. And, it's that energy. Well, that's a good example from your life that's similar to that study about the baby chicks. I mean, the baby chicks are sending out that vibe of need and wanting that love from their mommies, and then all the inanimate objects, these robots, are moving in their direction. And so it's having an effect on energy, including inanimate energy.
Then there's also energy healing. So that part, many different forms. Reiki is one of them, where somebody, loosely described here, is sending positive energy to you. They've been trained, they've been attuned to be able to send that energy, which makes us feel better, lighter, more clarity, clears up some mucked up energy from, past traumas and things like that, right?
Right, absolutely. Then that fits what I was saying about the healing touch therapy, which is a whole kind of brand of healing and included in the medical professions now that the nurses do with just the hands-on kind of healing. which is like Reiki, but even more specific. They have a whole lot of things, techniques. And you get accredited in it, and you can use it as a nurse or a medical professional.
That's a great point that you bring up, Ann, because the medical community has now taken note of what we're talking about here. And there are some hospital surgery suites where a Reiki master will come in before a procedure, and not just to Reiki the patient, but also the doctors and the staff for the best outcome. This would be going on more often, except insurance companies don't want extra people in the surgery area. It's not like I think many patients, honestly, if I was having surgery and I could have a Reiki master in there, Reiki, me and the doctors and the nurses and a technician, anesthesiologist, I would pay out of pocket for it. I'm good with it. I want for my surgery the best outcome. So whatever I can do to make it better,
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, but the insurance companies don't want an extra body in there. I guess it's a liability. Yeah. It's not even about them paying for it, but maybe someday insurance companies will be paying for treatments like that. And when we talk about energy healing, sound, how about that?
Yes, absolutely. Music, sound, vibrations. Mm-hmm. All these have been found to have impact, positive impact.
And all right, let's look at that for a second. When we talk about sound, and people who are trained in it can use sound bowls, cymbals, triangles, all different ways to produce a frequency, certain frequencies, not just any, but it's intentional to help you heal. I believe this 528 hertz is the frequency of love. I'm pretty sure it's right around that territory. But they'll strike these instruments, and the energy, again, what is sound? It's vibration, will get out and then hit the target, being your ears, or you just feel it. You're just feeling the energy. And for anybody who hears that and really, how's that even going to work? How's that going to heal? Consider this. When you listen to music, what are you listening to? Mm-hmm. A vibration. That's what produces the sound in the music. Why?
And it sends you to a beautiful place.
Thank you. Why are we listening to music? There's always an intention. What's the intention? I want to be happy. Maybe I want to feel sad. Maybe I want to feel nostalgic. Right. There's a reason that it works on you. Same thing with sound bowls and energy healing.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all sound and music. And what did you say? The hertz was by 5 point. What did you say?
520 hertz is the frequency of love. I'm pretty sure it's up that high.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too, you can go on YouTube, you can go on Spotify, and you can even type in sound healing, energy healing, and you'll get music that's produced.
Podcasts, I think I've seen them where they, that you can play them.
Yeah.
Good for sleep or anxiety. Just the vibrations. There's this, there's a device now that affects the vagus nerve. I heard some people have been using it too, that they could put the, set the measurement at a certain level. I don't know if it's that. Maybe I'll find out. This is getting me interested. But that you wear it and you can actually put it on for calming yourself, calming your vagus nerve, or even energizing if there's depression and stuff, that you set the vibration. It's just a little wristband. It's not invasive, anything. It's just a little vibration. You'd be feeling at your wrist or whatever. And it is having a good effect on people's anxiety levels or depression. And that's part of more of the holistic, like the Reiki and so on, the healing touch therapy, that's having a positive effect. And there's research on it. It's just, that would be more into the integrative medicine or functional medicine area that those people, those physicians who have a medical degree, but then when you've got a specialty in the health area, the root functioning, integrative or functional medicine. They would be the ones to talk to about that kind of research more, and could speak to that.
What other thoughts should we share about energy?
You tell me. You're very well versed.
I'm just picking it up.
I'm thinking about. One thing is, I mean, if you look at the idea that energy is never destroyed, that a good percentage of the population, the global population, believes in life after death, which would be a good example of that. It's like your energy, even though it's not going to be in a physical, this state form, when you cross over, either, the religions believe that you cross over to heaven or whatever it might be called, or if you work on your progression of your soul there, or maybe some of the religions believe in reincarnation, so that your energy may cross over, get guidance, and come back to this physical form, to Earth School, to work on your energy, work through your karma, if you will, just getting to that level of being at the highest energy on soft, getting up to that, what we want to be at that total level of love and peace. But that the idea is that our energy transmutes or transforms versus being destroyed. That's mostly what the majority of people would believe, not everybody.
But there are some that believe that we are spiritual beings in a human container, and once the container breaks down like a car, and then it doesn't work anymore, there are some believing, many, that our energy, our spirit, is still around. It's still
exactly, in some form. Of course. Yeah, definitely. And that's a good example of the energy.
I based on evidence, journey, all of that, I'm believing that we are spiritual beings in these human vessels, if you will. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's
so we just get to our highest level of love and peace.
Yes, that's what it's all about. The highest vibration. Exactly. I know we went a little woo-woo today, but for good reason, because
that's okay. We don't want to be boring.
No, a lot of this holds the key to many of our futures and answers why, stuck energy. You think of everything we go through as humans and the different energetic situations that we're involved with, in our evolution. And it stands to reason that energy could get stuck in you, and that's why you need an energy healer, to help you out with that.
Absolutely. The therapy or hypnosis, where you can heal those wounds with you, those blockages, so that you can be at that love and peace, that creating the good in your life, yourself, and your environment.
PsychologyToday.com. Best way to find you. Just do a search for Dr. Ann Creekmore. That's Ann with an E, and Creekmore spelled exactly how it sounds. You can do things virtually. You're not an energy healer per se, but certainly on the psychological aspect. And your book, there's full details on that. Pen name, by the way, is AP Filosa on the book. And so much great insight. I'm gratified that more and more people are finally accepting this energy thing. Science proves it. We just, we just push it away, but it's real.
Right. We need it all.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the positive vibes, and thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you for the same.
All right. We'll catch up soon. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, Buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.